Welcome, Atul sir. Hello.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah, welcome, sir.
Yeah.
Is that sir?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. I was just waiting for the confirmation. Shall we start?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, good evening, all. I am Mohammad Ejaz Ahmed from Department of Computer Science Engineering, MGM's College of Engineering, Nanded. Welcome you all for this day 5 of ongoing FDP, AI in Action, Transforming Healthcare and Education. So, today's topic is Agentic AI, and our distinguished speaker is Mr. Atul Kahate, who is a software professional, a trainer at CDAC Pune, and also an author. So here is a brief introduction about him. So Mr. Atul Kahate is working as trainer at CDAC Pune. He has trained hundreds of students in variety of subjects like advanced computing, big data analytics, artificial intelligence, high performance computing, information security, and Internet of Things. His prior journey as a software professional includes impactful roles at Sintel, American Express, Deutsche Bank, LTI, Oracle, RIA Advisory. He has worked in countries like England, Germany, USA, and Singapore. He has also worked as a visiting faculty at Symbiosis International University, Pune. And he has authored many books in computer science on subjects like cryptography and network security, web technology, object-oriented analysis and design, operating systems, DBMS, C++, etc. Some of these books are published by McGraw-Hill and Pearson. He has also authored many non-fiction books in Marathi on subjects ranging from biographies to economics, finance, and history. Many of these won several awards. He is also a regular contributor to leading Marathi newspaper. So we look forward to today's talk. Okay, so I hand over this now to our today's speaker, Mr. Atul Kahate. Sir, can you please start your presentation? I'll stop my sharing.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Let me get started. So just give me a second.
Yes. Sure, sir, sure.
Okay. I'll share my screen. Before that, maybe just for a minute or so, I'll switch on my camera so at least people know who is talking to them. So the topic that I have selected is Agentic AI, and which obviously is one of the hottest and latest topics that everybody is talking about today. So I'll try to demystify this in the allotted time. Of course, the theme is education and healthcare. So I may or may not stick to that theme because the topics in agentic AI are quite generic in nature, and those would apply to any stream or domain really. So with that note, let me stop my camera and I'll start sharing my PPT. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible to you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll just first briefly talk about this idea of agentic AI before going into a couple of examples that I would like to demonstrate. So it's a very interesting concept, and this is due to largely a person named Andre Kapati, who happened to head a lot of AI initiatives at Tesla. And before that, he was working at Google DeepMind and also at OpenAI. So he has been one of the, so to say, forefathers of this AI movement in the last few years. And he in one of his videos, which the link of which is here, makes some very interesting remarks, which I think we need to understand before we get into something called agentic AI. So he says that what we call as software version 1.0, which traditionally is the software that all of us have been writing for the last several decades, where we have some computer code, and the computer code is a program which programs the machine or the computer. And this machine became programmable roughly in the 1940s with the arrival of the very first computers, such as ENIAC and ABC, or the very initial machines. And subsequently, this went into personal computers, etc. But the way people wrote programs did not change. What changed was the levels of the language, from machine language to assembly language to, let's say, high level or very high level like SQL. But beyond that, there was not a significant change. And this got dramatically changed around 2012, when famously the AlexNet deep learning network was created by three people who famously now are called as the founders of the modern AI movement, which includes none other than Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, and two of his students. So they created this neural network, which could recognize images much more effectively as compared to what the earlier neural networks could do. And this brought in a tremendous change in the way software was written. And people no longer started writing computer code, but instead, now they were actually giving weights to neural networks. And these weights decided, for example, whether the neural networks were able to recognize images, patterns, and whether they were able to understand even human text. And that reached a level which was unheard of around 2019, when the concept of large language models emerged with the arrival of Google BERT and subsequently a lot of other products, most famously the GPT uh, product from OpenAI. So now we no longer work with computer code. We also don't require weights in the neural network connections, but what we instead require are prompts. And these prompts are very surprisingly written in human language, which we call as a natural language. And the natural language is now what programs the LLM, or large language models. And this he calls as software 3.0. And this has created the era of what we call as generative AI, and subsequently also the agentic AI. And this, I would say, is quite remarkable, because if we look at the examples of how this has evolved. So in software 1.0, we had the typical code written in any traditional programming language. So here the example is in Python. So if, let's say, we want to perform something like sentiment analysis, where based on the keywords, we decide whether the sentiment that is expressed is positive or negative. So you might have a few words that indicate that it is positive and some others which indicate that it's negative. And based on the actual words that we find in the message, which we search here, we would be able to make a prediction about whether the message is positive or negative. Now, of course, other things such as the probability of being positive, negative, and therefore which one is higher. So those factors will come. Now, from this static list of positive, negative images, we went into software 2.0, where we just gave a lot of examples to the machine learning model. And then the model would be able to, based on this, generate some parameters which fix the model. And subsequently, if we just give a target message based on these parameters, which essentially are the weights, it would, for example, be able to make a prediction. And now things are dramatically different, where we don't even need to do this, where we just write very clear prompts. So for example, we say to the LLM that you are a sentiment classifier, and for every review, uh, this is the sort of syntax that you will read the receive in. and you need to just respond exactly with one word. So you say to me that based on this information, the review is either positive or negative. And just to help you, here are a few examples that I'm giving. So in the first case, based on this text, the conclusion was that it was positive. In the second case, it was negative, again negative. So use this and then give me the answer. And this is really remarkable because we no longer worry about the syntax, we no longer worry about a programming language, we no longer worry about a model, but we speak with the machine as if the machine understands English. And why English? Even our regional languages and national languages. So, for example, the French and the German, and in India, maybe all the regional languages. So, all of this in no time would be understood by the machines, and the machines would be able to do their job without requiring any of this. And therefore, on the 24th of Jan 2023, he made an extremely interesting tweet, or today, instead of tweet, we'll call as the message on X platform. So he says the hottest new programming language is English. And if you just spend a moment thinking about it, this is actually true. So today, it doesn't matter whether you know Python or you know Java to a certain extent. Maybe Python you still require for creating agentic AI applications and so on. But beyond that, most of the real programming will now start doing in English. And this has completely changed how we write software. And the software is now going to be based on large language models going forward. And these are some of the most commonly used LLMs. That is from OpenAI, the GPT, latest model GPT-5, or even its predecessors. GPT-5, for example, has received some criticism, and maybe it is overhyped, is what people say. But it doesn't matter in the long run. Most of the GPT models are excellent, and they do provide really cutting-edge responses. Then the open source Llama models from Meta. Then Anthropic has again something remarkable, which is a Claude model. Google's own Gemini is excellent. Mistral has this. Then we have Perplexity, and so on. So there is a huge number of models that is being developed, and they have surprisingly wide range of capabilities. So, for example, answering questions, then we have the LLMs writing essays, codes, articles, translating from one language to another, summarizing text, chatting interactively, almost as if a human is chatting. So it seems that there is almost nothing which is impossible to these LLMs. And using these capabilities of LLMs, if we decide to create some applications, then we call this as an agent. So the basic definition of an agent is that agent is something which can perceive its environment, which means, for example, if let's say we give some input, that is what we call as the perception of the agent. So we can give inputs through images, we can give through text, we can give audio, any sensor data, user queries. So you name it, and the agent generally will be able to understand it. And today we'll do a couple of these as samples to understand this point. So it will perceive its environment and it will make decisions. So to make decisions, we might define certain rules, or we can give very clear guidelines. We can specify in our prompt, this is what the agent must do, must not do, or we can ask it to perform some logic, or we say that using a machine learning based model to this. So the example of this could be in a game like chess, what is the best move? Or let's say when there are plenty of options available, what is the best route? Or let's say selecting a response among many options. So this is the capability that an agent will have, and it will depend on how much of freedom we allow. So we can create an agent in two ways. One is we guide the agent very strictly, saying that this is only how you can work. And therefore, in that case, the agent will not be able to utilize too much of its own autonomy, and it will become more like a workflow. But the second model is where we don't put many restrictions on the agent, and we say that you yourself go and figure out. almost as if we are telling this to some human assistant. And the agent will then literally think about various options, and among those options, which seems to be the best. And accordingly, the agent will make the decision. Then the agent can take actions. So actions could be, let's say, based on the decisions, what tasks I want to perform. So for example, it could be as extreme as moving a robot arm if the agent is in the robotic form, or it could simply be answering a question or executing some command. And after doing all this, the agent, for example, can sense, it can think, it can act, and over a period of time, the agent can also learn. Just like a human being, based on past mistakes, maybe the agent can improve the performance, or let's say give better chatbot responses, then refine the recommendations. So these capabilities which normally a human has, we build inside this agent. So just like a human can sense what is around, then based on this can make some quick decisions, and not quick decision just for the sake of it, but after applying a lot of logic, and accordingly act on those decisions, and finally get into a learning loop, so that next time the whole cycle, if it repeats, that will be much better than previously, and therefore the aim would be to improve the accuracy. So if we are able to create such a system, we will call this as an agentic AI system. So what we can say is that the first wave, machines were learning from us. So we were supplying a lot of data to machines, and we were training them, we were creating models, and then using the models we were predicting. Now it is very different. Now machines are not learning from us. So machines have already learned. So whatever they needed to learn, obviously, when we say they have already learned, like human learning, this learning can also never end. So that will continue almost forever. But the point is, they have learned sufficiently enough for them to be able to act for us. So again, this will be a continuous ongoing process, but based on whatever they know as of date, they can act. And acting is very important in agentic AI. So the difference is, if let's say we compare a large language model like LLM, that LLM is just reactive. So for example, if we go to ChatGPT and we ask a question, so ChatGPT will say, okay, this is your question, and therefore this is the answer. But it cannot, for example, do something proactively, or it cannot really act beyond the responses. For instance, if we say, okay, this is your answer, now email this to this ID, then ChatGPT will say that no, I do not have the capability to email this. Okay? So in other words, it is like a request response machine, and it is obviously excellent at that concept. But beyond this, it cannot really act on our behalf. So it's not proactive. So the traditional AI, which is machine learning, AI, LLM, so that is what we call as reactive. In other words, it's almost like a calculator. So suppose we have decisions to be made about our income tax or investments, we will use a calculator. But while the calculator will be able to solve our numeric problems, it will not, for example, suggest what is the best investment plan, or it will not, for instance, tell us how best we can save our taxes. And for this purpose, we'll have to consult an investment advisor. And that is where agentic AI equivalence will come in. So it will go beyond just providing basic information or reacting to what we have inputted, and it will proactively do things for us. Okay? So agentic AI will be the software which does not wait for the user's command. Once we supply it with basic or bare minimum information, then it knows what to do, and it will actively try to pursue that goal. And that is really different from the traditional AI systems, leave alone the traditional computer systems. So agentic AI, if needed, will do all these steps. For example, it might call an external API, it might pull data from there, it might send emails, it might write code, it might check its own work and improve. So it might think and then react and then improve. So all of this is extremely powerful, and that's what separates agentic AI from the rest of the applications. Now, when we talk about the agentic AI evolution, uh, we obviously know that AI is the broad umbrella. I will not elaborate on these points. All of us know this. Uh, and we know also that machine learning is a subset of AI. And deep learning is a special form of machine learning where we have multi-layer neural networks rather than a typical machine learning model that learns from data. So what does agentic AI do then? So agentic AI is all of this, plus it adds a very important point, which is autonomy. So autonomy is where, unlike the traditional AI, where we have to wait for a human input or intervention, once we start an agent, the agent will perform its job without really bothering about human instructions if it has been given sufficient autonomy. And that is why we say that traditional AI will answer human questions, but agentic AI will actually do a job for the humans, or it will pursue the objectives or solve whatever problems we have, which we are using it for. Okay, almost like a very intelligent assistant. Okay, I'll skip some of the slides which are maybe not relevant here. Okay, now how do we look at agentic AI systems? So the very popular and extremely knowledgeable company Anthropic, which has devised many standards related to modern AI systems, including the MCP or Model Context Protocol. So Anthropic says that we can distinguish the agentic AI or agentic systems into two types. First is what we call as workflow. So workflow meaning here we have a very clear predefined path where we instruct the agent that use this LLM, for example, and use these tools, and then carry out your task. In other words, it is like, let's say, a workflow which we design even in our day-to-day life when we are dealing with, let's say, some human assistants. So just for example, we tell, let's say, some human assistant, go to this particular office, pick up this document, then maybe make a Xerox or photocopy of it, and hand it over to this person, take his or her signature, then put this in some envelope, and before that maybe scan that document, send the scanned copy to me, then put it in an envelope, and then courier it to this address. So we have given very precise instructions here, and that becomes a workflow. So if we also give very clear instructions to an agent, and we say that this is exactly how I want you to behave, then that becomes what is called as an agentic AI or agentic system workflow. This is interesting. This is very exciting, but more exciting is the real agents. So here we just tell the agent what to do. Almost like in SQL, we say select something from some table, but how to do it, SQL decides. So here, how to achieve this task, the LLM will decide. And maybe in doing so, if the LLM encounters some problems, or let's say some of the tools or facilities that are available are not working, then the LLM will find some alternatives. It will try its level best to pursue the course of action that we have chalked out, and it will try to complete the task. Just like, for example, we tell a much more intelligent human assistant to just say that I want this particular document to be delivered. And we just give very basic address details, etc. How he or she does it step by step is not our concern, because we know that this person is intelligent. We trust that person, and that person has the autonomy to also do tasks on his or her own. So that's how we distinguish between these two, which are the workflows and agents. And while creating agents, we also can very clearly sense whether we are creating a workflow or the agent based on the prompts that we give. Okay. So now coming to the agentic AI frameworks, one of the major questions that a lot of people struggle with is if I want to learn agentic AI, what exactly should I learn? And I would say this single slide really summarizes this. So at the beginning, we have something called as the OpenAI SDK, and this is where we can give instructions to the OpenAI LLM through an agent, and we can get our job done. And if we want to become slightly more sophisticated in our understanding, then we can start using OpenAI frameworks. And the first of them is LangGraph, which is the next stage of the initial framework called LangChain. And LangGraph allows us to construct uh, in a tree form or tree structure, extremely or a graph structure, extremely powerful workflows or agents, which can perform the tasks that we ask that particular agent to do. And that makes it very systematic because we clearly specify after point A, go to point B and do this. And we can also put conditions saying that if in activity B you face this problem, do this, else do this. So conditional logic, everything we can specify. Then we have Microsoft's AutoGen, which is also an interesting framework to work with when we have one agent after another performing some actions. But how it differs from this Crew AI. So these two are in concept somewhat similar. But here we have more of sequential agents. And in Crew AI, we have agents that are acting in parallel. So let's say, for example, we have some task and we want some 3-4 agents to simultaneously uh, pursue this activity. Let's say we want to search for research papers based on some topic, let's say deep learning. So we can instantiate or start one agent who will go to the research documents to search for deep learning. At the same time, we can start a second agent which will go to the general internet, not to specific research-oriented sites, and it will also search for deep learning. Third could, let's say, go and find what are the most interesting and important books on deep learning. And let's say the fourth one could find out what are the trending videos related to deep learning. And all of these 4 agents will run in parallel. And once their task completes, or their tasks rather complete, all of them will bring back their information. And let's say a summarizing agent or a review agent will take all this information and it will, for example, summarize their task. It will identify what are the key findings and if required, let's say, put this in a PDF format and email that to us. So something like this we can easily do using Crew AI. OpenAI Agents SDK is the revised version of this basic API. So here we have 2 APIs. One is called as the chat completions API, and second is the responses API. So the third API that OpenAI has now developed is called as the agents SDK. So here a lot of features which are not just LLM based, but agentic features are here. And then finally, we have the model context protocol or MCP, where almost like agents communicating with LLMs, LLMs communicating with third-party systems in a proprietary manner, or if not proprietary, at least technology-specific manner. Now we are able to do this in a platform and technology-neutral manner, which means any agent can talk to any other external system using a standard syntax. So it doesn't matter now whether you are using LangGraph or OpenAI or AutoGen, Crew AI, everybody will speak the same language. And that is the innovation which is brought by MCP. It's almost, and that's why people say that it's almost like TCP/IP on the internet, where everybody speaks TCP/IP. And if you speak TCP/IP, then there is no confusion. So here also, MCP is like the universal communication protocol for agentic AI. Okay? So that's the entire list of frameworks. And for today's demonstration purposes, I will show you one example from this next generation OpenAI SDK and possibly one from this agents SDK, because basic principles will not change. What these frameworks will do is to ease our coding. So coming to this OpenAI SDK, here we have three APIs, as I had mentioned. So first is the chat completions API. So this is now what OpenAI calls as the classic API, because this is the API which OpenAI built first. Not necessarily first, but in recent times. There were APIs even before this, but this was perhaps the most widely used API for developing agents and LLM-based work. And now this is called as the classic API because, as I had mentioned, now OpenAI doesn't recommend this going forward. And although it's most widely used, OpenAI officially says that going forward, we should not use chat completions API, but we should use responses API. So this will be sunset or removed next year, 26, and this will become the only API that OpenAI supports in the non-agents case. So currently both exist, and this is better than this, and this is better than this. So responses API is what it calls as the new unified API, which supersedes this chat API, and it's also called as the completions API. Whereas agent API is still higher level than responses API, and it has true agentic behavior such as autonomy, calling functions, which is much easier than doing this. And then it has many other features such as memory, tools, guardrails, workflows, etc., etc. Okay, so first I'll go through one example from this responses API, where let's say what we want to do is to maybe send a request to the LLM, and then we want some work to be done. Okay, so here what we want to do. So this is our responses API. As I had mentioned, this is the second API which OpenAI supports. Okay, so there is this responses API, which is the current recommendation. So I'll not go through the chat completions, although there are examples that I can show, but this is the more modern one. So from the responses API, what can we do? So first, we import the OpenAI library. Then because we require to communicate with the OpenAI LLM, which is in this case GPT-4o mini. So we want to use this LLM. Okay, so if we just maybe search for this. Okay, so we'll find the documentation about this LLM. So it says that it is one of the most cost-efficient small models. Okay? And that is why we generally recommend that this particular LLM should be used, because it's both powerful as well as in terms of costs. It is quite affordable as compared to most of the other models. So this is the model that we want to use. And how do we access this model? So for this, we need to set up an account on OpenAI website, and that will give us an OpenAI API key. And once we have this OpenAI API key, we need to configure this key in a file which is called .env. So here I have created this .env file, and inside this file, I need to configure the actual key value. Okay, now because obviously this key is confidential, I'll not open this file, but I hope you get the idea that we need to configure this file here. And once we have this key, then we'll be able to communicate through our code with OpenAI. And to import this key into our code, we need all these libraries and setup. Once we have this key set up and we just say client is equal to OpenAI, it will automatically know that the key has been loaded, and therefore it will open a connection with the OpenAI backend or the server of OpenAI. Then we say using this client, we want to create a request through the responses API. Okay, so here is the responses API. So we want to use that API, and we want to create a new request. what do you want to do in this request? So we want to use this model, which is GPT-4o mini, which we just now saw. And this is the input that we want to pass to the LLM. So this is what we call as a prompt. So in the prompt, we say, give an interesting problem about machine learning of intermediate level, and then summarize the answer in 5 sentences. Give both, that is a question and the answer. So this prompt can be anything really, depending on what you want the LLM to do, provided, of course, that the LLM has knowledge about it. And again, on what date this was released, we'll also decide what knowledge it has captured. And we cannot also maybe ask it to give a lot of current information in case it's not trained on that data. But something very interesting that we will observe is that although we say that LLMs are sort of backdated in the sense that up to a certain point they were trained, and therefore they'll be able to give answers only up to that point. Interestingly, that's actually not quite true now. Okay, so if let's say I open ChatGPT and I ask a question. Okay, so let's say I ask a question which is, what are today's business headlines? Now remember, we create an LLM on a particular day, which means normally it should not have this information, because ChatGPT, whatever latest model it is using, this would know information up to a certain point, and beyond this point it would not know. But very interestingly, it's able to give us answers as of today. Not only this, it realizes that I am from India, and therefore it's giving answers which are relevant to the Indian context. Okay, which is really surprising. And the reason the LLM can do so is because if we click on this plus, here we will see that it has access to many tools. Okay, so it has access to web search, Canvas. Some of the tools are shown here, but not all. And that is how the LLM is not just the LLM any longer, but LLM also has access to what we call as various tools. And which is why even here, if we ask some questions which are not known by this GPT-4o mini, but then we give it tools, just as, for example, this has access to tools, it would also be able to respond even for current questions. And that is something which I think we need to understand. Next part is very simple. So whatever response it gives us, so it will, this LLM will receive this question. It will think about the answer and produce an answer. And then it will summarize the answer in 5 sentences. So first it will generate the question, then it itself will answer the question in 5 sentences, and it will give us both questions and question and answer. Okay, which is what we want to print. Okay. Now, if we want to print only so either we can print the full response, or we can extract only the relevant part of the response, because this will come back as a JSON file. And maybe we're not interested in all the fields, including headers, etc. So we might just extract this. But currently we are printing both. So if I run this code, then it would make a request to the OpenAI GPT framework. And let's see what it does. So I had asked it to generate a question. So here is a full response, okay? Because first we wanted to print the full response. But as we can see, this full response is a little annoying. We are not interested in this full response, but more interesting is the actual output text. So this output text contains the question. So the question it has generated is, you are tasked with developing a machine learning model to predict housing prices in a city based on various features, etc. And then you have a data set of these many houses, but you notice that the data set has a significant amount of missing values and some categorical features that are not encoded. What will you do in order to pre-process the data, handle the missing values, and encode categorical features? So this is a very interesting sort of problem which we can create, let's say, for our students. And we can get the answer from the LLM, and we can sort of tally with what the students respond. So here is the answer. So it says to pre-process the data, first we need to examine the extent and pattern of missing values. We can handle these values by either inputting them through mean median, that is mean median imputation. Then for categorical features, we'll use some sort of encoding technique, either label or one-hot code, etc. And after pre-processing, we'll split this into training and test set. Using linear regression or random forest, we can predict. And then we use metrics to verify whether our model has done its job. So just imagine by writing a few lines of code, and again, the entire template would be more or less the same every time. All we need to do is to change our prompt, and we'll get a dramatically different answer. So let's try. Okay, so suppose now I say input equal to, let's say, write Python code to accept the numbers from the user and find which of them is the largest, print the largest. In the largest number. Okay. Now we are giving a completely different task. First, we had asked some sort of a question. Now we are asking it to write code. So although it may seem similar, it's actually very different. Now we are testing the coding capabilities of the model, unlike here, which was more like a understanding and reasoning and conceptual knowledge. Okay. So let me try running this and see what happens. Okay. So see, it has generated this code. So function to find the largest of three numbers. So it has defined this function, and then it says inside a try catch block, accept these numbers and call the function to find the largest and print this. So as we can see, this is really remarkable, and it also says how to use, etc., etc. And this is where I hope we understand this initial point which I had made, which is that we are going from software version 1.0 to 2.0 to 3.0, and this 3.0 is truly remarkable because somebody who just understands plain English and a little bit of Python today can become a very powerful programmer, which was just impossible here, where people who knew programming considered themselves to be maybe slightly superior than the others, and everybody thought that if I knew programming, coding, then I had some special privilege or special knowledge. Not that it has become history, I would say, but the perception has dramatically changed. And someone who just understands a little bit of coding also now will be able to write very powerful software, because the hard work is not done by us, but it's now done by the models. And as these models keep becoming more and more powerful, the kind of knowledge and understanding they will have, uh, obviously even today it has surpassed the human knowledge and understanding several million times. It's not an exaggeration, but with increasing training and more sophistication, the models will become so better at doing these things that these applications will truly transform almost everything that we know of. Now, if you think we are passing a question to this LLM and this LLM is responding, is that the only thing that the LLM can do? The answer is no. So for example, now let's try a second case where what we are going to do is we are going to pass a file to this LLM called animals.pdf. Now, because the LLMs expect to receive files in the PDF format, that is why I had to convert this file from, I think, JPEG. Yeah, so this is the original file. So this original file has pictures of not real but cartoon type pictures of lot of animals, and I've converted this file into a PDF format because the LLM, when I tried to send a JPEG format, it said I can accept only PDF, and that's the reason why there's a PDF file. So this PDF file is what we pass to the LLM. So what we first do is, using the OpenAI client, we say client.files.create. So this file automatically will now go to OpenAI, assuming that this file is present in the correct directory and so on. And we have to specify that the format of this file is binary. So in other words, read this file in the binary format. That's what we are instructing the LLM. And what is the purpose? So this is supplied by the user. That is, we are supplying the file. And then we are saying there are two inputs that we will receive. First input is the file, and second input is the question. So what question do we want to ask? So the question we want to ask is, which animals are these? And if you want to give any more specific instructions, also you can give. But maybe for this example, this much is sufficient. And we are saying that our role is user. That is, we are sending the file and we are asking this question. Okay, so the LLM should understand that this is coming from the user, that is us. Again, we are using the same model. If you want, we can experiment also with different models, not just from OpenAI, but we can even use local models. And I'll show you an example of that also. So in other words, now we are sending a picture or an image to the LLM, and we are asking it to predict which animals are there in the picture. So here we are combining not just the natural language processing capability of the LLM, but we are also trying to exploit its computer vision and image recognition type of capabilities. Okay. So let me try running this code now. Okay, and this is the response that we receive. Okay, so it says that the first animal is tiger. Okay, let me open the picture once again. It's here. So first animal it says is tiger, which is correct. Second is meerkat. Now I myself don't know what this means, but just assume that it's correct. Third one is a crocodile, which is correct. Then we have wild beast, okay, which I think is this. Then we have ostrich, which is correct. Then we have some vulture, so I think it's pointing to this. Then we have elephant. Then a hyena. So where is the hyena? It's here, maybe, I don't know. Then we have a giraffe. So giraffe is correct. Okay, so we'll see that most of the animals it has identified correctly. Then a rhino, buffalo, antelope, cheetah, and iguana. Okay, some names are not familiar to me, but overall, I think we can clearly see that it is a remarkable achievement, if you think of it, that we are able to pass an image on our machine to a remote computer running somewhere in the world, and we are just saying, tell me what things are there in this image, and that is truly massive, according to me, and this is something which it was not possible earlier, up to a few years before. Okay, now how to, for example, run this using our local LLMs. Okay, so the same image in Dutch. Now, how to do this using our local LLMs? Okay, so I should have an example somewhere. Yeah, okay, it could be here. So if, let's say, we want to use an open source LLM, and that open source LLM is running, let's say, on our own machine. So here on my machine, for instance, I have installed the open source LLM hosting platform, which is called Olama. And if I say Olama, just Olama, for example, so it will tell us what all options exist here. And if I say Olama and list, it will tell me what all models exist on my machine. So I have downloaded using the command olama pull a model from Meta or earlier Facebook called Llama 3.2 latest, which is considered to be again a very powerful model. Of course, newer versions, etc., exist which are even more powerful. But now we can run this LLM on our local machine also, or we can send questions like this. So instead of sending it to OpenAI, we can send it to the local model. Now, how to run this on the local machine? So I can just say Olama run. And if I say Llama run Llama 3.2, name of the model. Okay, so it is preparing this and it will run this on the local machine. And now we can actually send a question here itself. Okay, so let's say, for example, we say, who was India's first prime minister? Okay, so now we have got an instant response from our local machine. It's not going anywhere in the world to find this answer, but it's coming from our own machine. Then we can say how to find the factorial of a number. Okay, so here is a formula. Give me Python code for this. See, again, it's truly remarkable that whatever we thought as our own privileged knowledge is all here, all open, and literally anything and everything that we thought only we could do. This can not only do it, but do it millions, billions times faster with extreme accuracy. And this is what we can now use to also run the model in a remote or code-based manner. So I'll not run the code, but I hope you got the idea that all we need to do now is to change the name of the model, and whatever message we pass, instead of passing like this on the terminal or command line, it will now get passed through the, let's say, programming environment. So we can even ask it to translate, okay? And it should be able to translate this and show. We can even pass this message maybe on the command line. Let's see. I'm not sure whether it will be able to do it, but I think it has Hindi capabilities also. Yeah, see. So although because of the Unicode characters, etc., we may not be able to see this, but it is translating, and it's even giving explanations about what each word means. Okay, so I hope we got the idea about what this is all about, and how we can use the large language models to be programmed as some sort of agents. Now, the real agentic behavior, if we want to see, going much beyond this, let me search for a suitable example. Yeah, okay. So here we are asking two different agents. So let's say one agent, we are asking it to write a clear, well-structured essay in 4 paragraphs about Unified Payments Interface, or UPI. So that is our first agent. Then the second agent, we are asking it to write a 1-page note explaining the OpenAI Agents API. What is it, how it works, etc. And we want to run both these agents correctly. So to the first agent, we say write the essay now, and to the second agent, we say write the note now. And we can perform both these tasks together using an asynchronous operation. And then we can time as to how much of time these took. Okay, you can also think about some other example. Let me just figure out slightly better example to show Yeah, okay. I think this is another excellent example that I was able to create. So this is like a Warren Buffett uh, everything or Wikipedia types example that I created. So what I did was uh, I downloaded the Warren Buffett page, Wikipedia page on my machine, and I converted this into a PDF. Okay, so this is the PDF file, and we can see this somewhere. It should exist, I think, in this directory called me, because that's where I have put it. So here we have this Warren Buffett.pdf. Okay, and we can see that this is in the PDF format, so we're not able to read it. It's asking whether you want to install the extension, which we won't. But this PDF file is here, and if you open this in Adobe, etc., or browser, we should be able to see. So now what we are saying is we are telling the browser that okay, so we are calling the agent as Buffett assistant, and then we are saying you are a helpful assistant. You can only answer based on this Buffett content. Okay, and we are giving the first 4,000 characters of this PDF because it's a very large file, and then we are saying, sorry, did somebody say something? Okay. So we are saying answer any question based on this document, but I'm making this, I'm making you or your responsibility flexible. So I can also ask for, because this is a Buffett topic, I can also ask for the stock price of any stock. So I can either ask a question about Warren Buffett, or I can ask, tell me the stock price of a particular stock. And you should be able to get that. How will you get it? So use a tool which is called a stock price tool. And this stock price tool is nothing but a function that we have written here. Okay, so what this function does is it goes to Yahoo Finance, and whatever stock we have given, so that will come in ticker. So for whatever stock we have asked it to find, it will go to Yahoo Finance, it will get the price, and it will return to us. And using a tool called Gradio, I have converted this into a small web application. Okay, so if I run this, okay, so it says it's starting the application and it's running on this port. So let me open this. Okay, and it says ask about Warren Buffett or stock prices. So it says ask a question about Warren Buffett or a stock price. So let me ask first a simple question. What are Warren Buffett's specialties? So it's now going to the LLM. LLM is going to go through our PDF. And from the PDF, it would have extracted knowledge. Now, remember, these are not like bullet points which are already there. It is making sense of the document. And after making sense of the document, it has created all this on its own. So this is not there in the document in the true sense. Okay, so it has extracted the meaning and summarized this content. But because we have given very precise instructions, so we have said, you can only answer based on this Buffett content. So if I ask a question for which there is nothing in the document, for example, if I say, who is Charlie Munger? Now, Charlie Munger was Buffett's famous partner, and yes, okay. So here we have this information still in the same PDF. Okay, but now if I ask, what is Warren Buffett's current stock holding? I'm not so sure now whether it will be able to give any answer. Yeah, see. So now it says go to Berkshire Hathaway's official reports or their SEC filings, because we have said restrict your search to only the PDF. And the other tool we have supplied is we can ask for any stock price. So let's say, for example, I ask, what is the stock price of Apple? See, now we can check Apple current stock price. Indeed, it is matching. Maybe you can try one more. Stock price of, let's say, Microsoft. Check. It is $501. It is $501. So I hope we understand what an agent can do and how we can construct at a high level, how we can instruct it to perform specific tasks, and overall how this is just revolutionary, to say the least. And I would sort of like to summarize here with a few points. So for people who say that agentic AI is a fad, or maybe it's a hype and it will not really succeed, I would strongly object. And also to people who say that AI itself is a hype and AI will not really make too much of sense. I think they are just underestimating either what AI can do, or they are not just understanding what this whole thing is about. While AI and agentic AI obviously need more time to mature, and we today cannot say that they are the technologies which will replace everything. That's not, I think, correct. But the other extreme of saying that it's a fad and it will go away, I think people who say this are making a big mistake, because if they don't wake up to this uh, real AI tsunami, so to say, and within that agentic AI tsunami, I think they will not be able to succeed in the changing circumstances. Okay, so with this, I hope it was useful to some of us in some ways. I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity, and in case there are any questions, I would like to try and answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Atul Kahate, for a wonderful session.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, participants, if any questions are there, please ask.
Thank you so much for your wonderful and insightful talk. Now, audience, participants, you have any questions, please come forward. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Please, questions from our participants. It seems there are no questions from participants. Kapre madam, shall we?
Sir, do share the code files if possible.
Yes, I will.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yes.
And
Sir, right now I'm working on. I'm Professor Rashmi Ravikumar from BJ Sangvi College of Engineering. I am right now working with a project in which we are talking about skin cancer. So, I mean, and in the process of literature review, I came across a lot of topics in which, we can use AI effectively. But the problem here is of medical data. So, I've been trying to find out if there is any kind of agency through which we can validate this data, and also any kind of government agencies that are there who can help with the rules and the regulation, if you're aware of something like that.
I am personally not aware, but what I would I can suggest is if you pursue this through the official channels, your college, university, and also in the process pick up something in the government sector. Meaning, if you're I don't remember whether you said it's a government college or private college. So if it's a private college,
It's a private
something
college.
yeah, so something along with the government university. If you approach a government hospital, that becomes slightly easier, and then through maybe medical officers or people concerned, you I think should approach something like the state health ministry, um,
Okay.
and tell the importance of what you are doing, in the sense that they should understand that you are not doing it for your own benefit. Maybe that's the short term goal, but in the long term, it's going to help in treating this better if we really have good data. So if you are able to convince like this, a lot of people come forward these days.
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, any other questions?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Sir, good evening. I actually had a doubt. Like, I am using Hugging Face to make a program right now. So, Hugging Face is an LLM. So, what I want to do is, like, there are large files of PDF while I'm extracting the data. Like, for example, a healthcare PDF, which consists of ECG data and the details which the doctor gives to the patient, or the MRI file data. I want to convert that into a small summary. So, a Hugging Face, when we are putting this on the cloud, it is costing about more than $8 per request. So, is there something easier or less cost effective other than this?
Okay. If I understand your question correctly, you are using a Hugging Face model to summarize the contents of
Yes,
documents.
sir.
Is that
Yes, yes.
okay? Then there is no need to actually put these documents on cloud, because Hugging Face model itself you can download on your local machine,
Uh,
which you might have done. I
Sir,
don't know.
actually, I am trying to make a project for some other person. So they have to launch the project for
No problem.
yeah.
No problem. So you could put these documents on some server. If this whosoever you are doing it for, if they have their own server, you could put those documents there. Then download the Hugging Face transformer, whatever model you are using for summarization, and run it locally. Then there'll be no need for any cloud uh, storage.
Sir, is there any other option other than this?
No, because if you want to use summarization, you'll have to use something like OpenAI or Hugging Face. The only question is you are saying storage is a problem, right? So bring it on a local server and it should run there. Then the cost will be eliminated.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have any question, please go ahead.
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Sir, I am Manisha Bidwe from MS Bidwe Engineering College, Latur. I want to ask one question. If some EEG signals are there and those are in the form of signals, if we want to convert into the digital data, then there is any tool is available?
Okay. Frankly, I'm not, really an expert in this domain. So I'm not sure what these EEG signals you are referring to, but
It's signals
concept,
of brains.
yeah. So conceptually, anything and everything can be converted to a digital form. If you can capture and measure it, you should be
Okay,
able.
sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is any other questions, participants? Kapre madam, shall we conclude this session? If there are no questions, shall we conclude this session, Kapre madam?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So
so
please conclude.
yeah, we would like to thank Mr. Atul Kahate for spending time with us and sharing his wonderful insights on this agentic AI. And I hope his session will be useful for the researchers and the participants who have attended the session. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and spending your precious time with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Kapre madam, any announcement for the participants?
Yeah, next session will start at 7:30. Okay.
So we'll keep the meeting on
So all should stay here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Keep the meeting on.
Yeah.
All should stay here. Stay connected.
Yeah. Okay, madam. Then we'll resume at 7:30.
Yes.
Okay. Thank
Yes.
you. ಕನ್ನಡದ್ದು ಒಂದೈತಲ್ಲ ಚಿನ್ನ ಕನ್ನಡದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಇದೈತಲ್ಲ ಚಿನ್ನ ಗಣೇಶಂದು
ದ್ವಾಪರ.
ದ್ವಾಪರ ಯುಗ ಹಾಕು ಚಿನ್ನ.
ತಡೆ ಇದಾಗ್ಲಿ. Hello.
Uh, Good evening, sir. Gudivada, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, he joined. I just
Yeah.
called him.
Yeah.
He's testing.
Okay. Fine.
Huh.
Yeah, my microphone is on.
Yeah, we can see your slides also.
Okay. Okay, camera. So you could see me as well.
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to display the slides that I sent, or I need to do it from my end? I share my screen.
No, that's better. You do it from your end.
Okay.
We have just asked you to submit because we want to circulate it to the participants.
Okay.
We need
No
to
problem.
take their test tomorrow, na? So they need something to read.
Sure. Yeah. So I have already sent it to you. So we'll join in about 6, 7. I think I can stay here, or you want me to log out and join again?
No, as per your convenience. We will start the session after 9 minutes from now, around 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
You can just keep your camera and this on mute, and
Okay.
you can again switch it on after
Okay.
10 minutes.
Okay. So you have lots of people present.
Yes, around more than 100 participants
Oh gosh. Okay.
have
That's a
joined for the
big.
previous session. There was one
Yeah.
session from 6 to 7:30, and now second is yours.
Okay. So it's a
7:30
great
to-
success for you. You were able to bring
Thank
that many
you.
people.
Because of the big speakers like you.
No. But you took the time to organize these. So that's wonderful.
Yes. Good.
Okay.
Okay, then I will join after 10 minutes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Shall we start, madam?
Yes, I think Razuka madam
Yes,
is not
if
there.
sir has joined, we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
start.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So welcome back, participant.
Director
And
madam is also joining. She will join in 5 minutes, but you can continue.
okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. So welcome back, participants. And I would like to introduce our today's renowned speaker, Dr. V. N. Gudivada, sir. He's going to deliver a talk on capstone planning, defining local problems, and AI-based solutions. So here is a brief introduction about him. Dr. V. N. Gudivada, sir, is a professor and chair of the Department of Computer Science at East Carolina University, USA. He has done his PhD from University of Louisiana, and his professional experience spans over 30 years in academia and industry with various organizations. He has developed new degree programs in computer science, software engineering, data science at both undergraduate and graduate levels. He has secured over $5 million in sponsored research funding from federal and state agencies through competitive proposals. His research interest includes large language models development, generative AI, SQL, NoSQL data management, information retrieval, and personalization of learning. He has published over 110 peer-reviewed papers in 110 peer-reviewed journals, conference papers, and book chapters. His publications have received over 4,869 citations with an I-10 index of 50 and H index of 28. Two of his publications were placed in the first two positions of a 5-element reference list in an August 2019 research solicitation titled Question Answering for Data Analytics by Missile Defense Agency of the United States Department of Defense. He has won various honors and awards. Some of the awards I have mentioned here: the Centennial Award for Excellence in Leadership at East Carolina University. This is the highest award given by the university for leadership excellence. Marshall University Distinguished Artist and Scholar Team Award with Professor Zwirsky for research excellence. This is the highest award given by the university president for research accomplishment. He also has a service recognition award from the West Virginia Department of Education for the contribution to West Virginia statewide virtual technology conference. He was also nominated to the University of North Carolina Board of Governors Distinguished Professor for Teaching Award. He also has received Service Recognition Award from West Virginia State University for collaborative efforts in promoting high performance computing at West Virginia University. So this was a brief introduction about him. Now I request Dr. V.N. Gudivada, sir, to start his presentation. Over to you, sir.
Yep. So thank you, Professor Ahmed, for such a wonderful introduction. Hopefully, I could live up to that expectation. So if I'm just wearing some glasses because I lost my eyeglasses in a train, and I just have to find time to go to an optometrist. So if I'm wearing this, please, bear with me. It's not that I want to hide my eyes. Just I can't, they're prescription sunglasses, so I won't be able to read in a fine print on the screen without these glasses. So with that, let me share my screen. So it looks like I need to share the entire screen because I probably need more than one window. So I assume that you all see my screen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Professor Rajurkar has shared this set of materials with you. So I have a self-contained HTML file, and I think especially in the last few years, PowerPoint slides have gone out of favor. In some companies now, like Amazon, they don't use PowerPoint slides at all. So if you have a problem, you describe in detail as a interactive computational notebook. So we also do that for our classes. Instead of PowerPoint slides, we use interactive computational notebooks. So I just thought, by doing so, I'm introducing you to that way of presenting your ideas. Okay, so here is the topic: capstone planning, defining local problems and AI-based solutions, Indian market focus. So what I see, if you make the screen, the window big enough, you could see the table of contents on the right-hand side. So by clicking on it, you should be able to go to any, place in the document. So the inspiration, I've been saying this time and again, even if you do stupid things, even if you do foolish things, you do it with passion, right? So if you don't have passion for whatever you choose to do in your life, that work is not going to come through, to that reflects your abilities and your, capabilities. So I always, kind of share this, with my students, nothing to do with religious, connotation. It was, written thousands of years ago by a sage, called Patanjali. He wrote the Yoga Sutras. So I'm going to read it because, it's worthwhile reading it. So when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents become alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. So the point, that you could, if many of the audience are from academia, you can have such a great influence on young minds. So I think one of the biggest challenges, for us as professors, educators, is to instill, inspiration. So when they come to class or university, it's a valuable time. The professors are there to help them achieve in a knowledge and how to put that knowledge into solving practical problems. Okay, now changing to AI, right? We're talking about Capstone project planning, AI-driven projects. Okay, so for every technology, there's a good thing and a bad thing, right? So it's a double-edged sword. And what is in a Gen AI, right? We had the AI, then you have deep learning, then we have within deep learning, we have in a Gen AI. So seems like in the last 1 year, almost everybody is talking about Gen AI, generative AI. So it seems like nobody really talks about the darker side of AI, right? Gen AI. So I included in a few things in here. You're not going to do it now, but I would really encourage you to kind of look at this material. So the first one is a book that came about recently, I think this year. The third one is a book. So your library may have or your bookstore may have, but not all of us may have the resources to get these books. If you can't read the one and the number one, number three, I would encourage you to read in a number two. It's actually not reading. It's a 1 hour, 29-minute video, approximately 90-minute in a video interview of the author of The Empire of AI by a journalist. So I actually didn't read the completely the book, but I did watch this in a 1 hour, 29 minutes. I promise you that it's worthwhile of your time. We're all very busy people. We just have to use your time wisely. But I would encourage you to, when you have some time, but don't do multitasking. You're doing only one thing at a time. You're just watching this video. It'll give you a different perspective of what is in a Gen AI, what are the dark, what is the dark side of a Gen AI, what kind of damage can it create. So by knowing the dark side of Gen AI, whatever solutions you come up with using Gen AI, you will try to mitigate the darker side of Gen AI. So that's all I would say about this interview. The author of the first book, Empire of AI, her name is Karen Ho. H-A-O is her family name. It appears to me she's her parents came from Vietnam. She's the first in a generation, actually maybe second generation. Her parents are the first generation. She went to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So that's one of the best universities, for studying engineering in the United States. So she got her mechanical engineering degree. So she's very much committed to two things in her life. One is preserving democracy, right? We take democracy for granted, but it's kind of with Gen AI, with AI in general, and it's so easy to lose in a democracy in the next 10 to 20 years. That's her view. And we need to be aware of the negative aspects of Gen AI so that we don't lose the democracy, right? We don't want to go to tyrants and autocrats, no, personal freedoms. So that's one of our major concerns. The second concern is global warming. With the Gen AI, we are creating a lot more pollution, through power plants and unregulated power generation. Seems like it's the power consumption is going in increasing many-fold, and it's going to contribute to more global warming than what people thought it's going to solve problems. So the second, her approach is, okay, how can I help, exposing the climate risks, and also what can we do to save in a democracy. So she thought about, okay, maybe I should go to Silicon Valley in California. All these big tech like Google's and Facebook's, Oracle, all these people, they have such a impact, right? Billions of people are affected, by Instagram, Facebook, Google, all these big tech companies. So maybe by going to Silicon Valley, I could create an influence, positive influence across the globe by working with these companies. So she stayed for 1 year, and then she realized that these big tech companies, they're no worse than the worst person you have ever known. Meaning, it's all about how can I become a billionaire? How can I earn a lot of money? I don't really care about preserving democracy. I don't care about preserving, reversing the climate change. It's all about how can I become rich, super rich, right? Not just billions, multi-billions. So she got disenchanted and she left Silicon Valley very, after a year or so, and then she became a journalist. So the story I'm saying here is we need people like that, here and there, so that we could actually be the agents of a change. We don't want to go with the flow. Okay, everybody is doing this way, I should also do it that way. She could have had a very lucrative career, right, with one of the best institutions in the world, with a mechanical engineering degree. She could have had a great life financially and even otherwise. But she chose, I'm not going to go through the regular path. Okay, this is my passion, this is my life and a goal. So it's very touching from my point of view if you listen to her story. And we need people like that, because what is that we're leaving for future generations? If we become very consumeristic and pollute the globe, pollute the oceans, what are we leaving for future generations? What we are enjoying came from millions of years ago. The future generations preserved all this, so we're able to live. But what are we doing for next generation or the several generations to come? So I think we have an ethical, moral obligation, all of us. We being in academia, we being in research, we can actually create a bigger impact by by positively exposing young minds. These are the challenges. Any technology, they had good, it has good things and bad things, but it's very important to know the negative aspects of the technology. Okay, so what about India in a scenario? So number one thing I think about is we waste so much food, not only in India but even other places. So if you think about all the rich people, the lavish weddings, and even high end restaurants and hotels, we just discard so much food. And also in the transit, when the food produce is more sent from the place of harvest to the market, a lot of food gets spoiled. So recently I came across US startups, because I had this idea when I recently visited India. that so much food is wasted, yet there are so many people who do not get a nutritious meal. So there are three good startups in US. One is called an ATAL, Savaggi and Foodberry. These are developing plant-based coatings. These are organic coatings, not chemical-based, so that food will have longer shelf life. So that way it won't go bad, and people can use most of what is being produced. So this Savaggi is another company that creates edible plant-based coatings from sources like canola and oats to protect produce. Foodberry takes a slightly different approach. It mimics the protective layers of fruit skins using fibers, phytonutrients and minerals. So that's their approach. I think I'll also talk about some of the things and great things that are happening in India. So I keep some of you who have come across my presentation in the past, you would actually see, I sometimes, not only stay technical, but also try to look at the bigger picture. So, some of the things I noticed, right, when I visited India recently. So you have an ice cream in a shop. You go there, they have blueberry flavors in a mango, guava. It looks like blueberry is a lot more, what they call esoteric or exotic, not esoteric, exotic. So blueberry is not native to India, whereas mangoes and guava, they're plentiful, they're available in abundance. So we should actually, somehow, because blueberry is not available, it's more fashionable to eat blueberry ice cream. We should actually focus on what is natively available, right? So that's you're supporting local farmers by choosing mango flavors and guava flavors. And also, if you look at the antioxidants, blueberry versus guava has many more times, orders of magnitude, greater amounts of antioxidants compared to blueberry. But somehow in big restaurants, it become fashionable because that's not available locally. And also, it's a trend, people say, okay, I go to McDonald's, I go to Kentucky Fried Chicken. If you look at the nutritional value, the traditional breakfast that we have is much more, nutritious, much more, healthy if you make it, properly than eating, Kentucky Fried Chicken food. So other mindset that we all need to change is obsession with English language at the cost of local languages. I don't use the word regional for a good reason. I'm not against against learning English. Yes, you learn English. You also learn other languages. More importantly, you learn your mother tongue first, and you can learn English. You can learn many other languages if you have time and interest. But what is happening here is, at least in southern states like Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, nobody is speaking the Telugu language anymore. Even if they speak, they cannot speak one sentence without mixing English or other words. So the reason I'm saying this is there's a myth going on with private schools, private primary, secondary education schools, that the way to progress in life is to learn English. Okay, my example, to say that that's a myth, because if you come to United States, you go to Australia, Canada, or other English speaking countries, they all speak English fluently. Still, there is unemployment. So they all know that it's their mother tongue. They speak and write fluently. Still, they cannot find a job. So you really need to develop mathematical skills, your reasoning skills, other types of skills. Just knowing English language alone is not enough. Okay, so that's a myth. And unfortunately, I come from a place called Chittor. There are some private primary, secondary schools. Some children told me that within the school, if you speak in your mother tongue native language, even one word, for each word you speak in your mother tongue, you have to pay a penalty of 5 rupees or 10 rupees. So to me, that's unbelievable ignorance of the teachers and the management. Okay, so the last one, or maybe just a couple of more, the myth of regional languages and national language. In India, unfortunately, English from one side and Hindi from another side, they're all attacking other languages. They're not regional languages. I would call them local languages. It's the same thing, right? If you look at Hindi or Marathi or Kannada, Telugu, Tamil, they're all they're all local languages. Not national languages, and there's no national language if you read the Constitution of India. So another thing I would, as educators, we need to emphasize is interdisciplinary collaboration. So computer science people, when I say computer science, is IT, AI, whatever disciplines you have in your institution, it's very important in a computer science people to collaborate with the mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, other engineers, communication engineers. Computer science by itself is not enough. Okay, you really need to have interdisciplinary collaboration. Even if you do capstone projects, can you bring in a mechanical engineering students and computer science students together to solve a real problem? So computer science students have the technology, the information technology, but mechanical engineers will know that discipline. So that way, by bringing collaboration, you can create in a more interesting projects. So one idea that I would give is, this is a hot link. So if I click on it, it may take some time. Okay, there's a advertisement and a YouTube advertisement going on. So here is a 8-minute video. I put I didn't turn on the so this is somebody's in a house, and this is their backyard. And this is a story of a 16-year-old girl. This is almost like 20-year-old in a story. And on her 16th birthday, she built a small real flying airplane. Okay, 16-year-old girl on her birthday, she built an airplane from scratch. She understands the mathematics of aerodynamics, differential equations, calculus, probability statistics, and more importantly, mechanical engineering, and also manufacturing. So isn't it amazing? Not every kid will have a dad that can buy all these materials, and her dad is an aerospace engineer. So even with that, look at the inspiration for that girl being able to build everything she did herself. She got the license from the Federal Aviation Administration, Federal Trade and Communications, and she learned all these things. By the time she is 16. So that means it's the passion. It is her desire to do something useful with her life. I'm not saying everybody will have these resources, but we need to discover ourselves and our children. What is that I can do within the resources that I have? We don't need to follow this example. I show this example as a inspiration, right? We also need to look at what resources are needed. Can we afford those resources? That's equally important. Okay, so I'm going to close this one. um, Another one that I wanted to quickly show, I would, it's not a self, advertisement, for myself. Okay, I have been thinking about, something, that I wanted to do from 2012, right? Long time ago, 12, 13 years ago. So then even in 2017, I got a $2 million funding from United States and the government to define to what I call a love of learning. How do you redefine? We learn things not because I want to get a rank, I wanted to get a degree, I wanted to get a job. These things will happen naturally. But whatever you do, especially in high schools and our colleges and universities, how can you promote a love of learning? I wanted to learn because it's inspiring. I want to do something with my life, not because I want to get a job. Those things will automatically follow. We all need money to make a living. So this is something that I've been working on. Dr. Rajurkar has been very helpful in. We work with 41 students from MGM College of Engineering for their internship project. So I would say it's a great learning experience for the students. From this, whatever this is registered in a company in the US. It's a Akshara Plus in many languages, and Akshara is the alphabet. So we just named it, that this is the foundation of learning. If you don't know the alphabet, you can't do much with it, right? So that was the reason for naming it an Akshara Plus. So, we are, it's not yet in Amazon Web Services. We're going to release it in August 15th. It got, delayed. It's, not anything unusual. So we do have internship opportunities, whenever, if your students want to work with us. But I can tell you that it's more of a social service. MGM students, 41 students, some of them are still, continuing after the internship, after graduation. You could ask them. We have not used single line of code that came out of this 41 students internship projects. They worked on each project lasted 6 months. But I still think, okay, my time was well spent, because I have earned in a good karma by working with these students and inspiring them. Did they become experts? No, but at least they know that what are their shortcomings, what is that they need to learn in order to become a competent IT professional. Okay, so that's something that we have been working seriously for the last year and a half. So that Akshara Plus, there's a syntax error here. It should be shown as a link. Okay, so I'll fix that. I think this curly brace should be rounded in a parenthesis. Okay, so what is India presents a unique landscape for AI-driven innovation. So the biggest thing that's happening to India is you have 1.4 billion young mind. Actually, many of them are young people. So that's the strength India has, and it faces distinct challenges. So whatever we do, we don't want to copy from United States or any other country, Australia. So the solutions we come up with, they should be more contextualized to our own issues. And the problems that India face, they significantly differ from Western markets. Okay, so that's the biggest thing that I see, or maybe you recognize. Whatever they do in US may be good for them, may not necessarily be good for Indian markets. So another factor is the market drivers, rapid digitization, growing smartphone penetration, increasing internet connectivity, any solutions, you provide cloud-based solutions that will actually be having a significant impact, right? You won't be able to find such a large market, maybe in China, but even compared to China, India has a younger population. Okay, what are some of the problems in India? So I won't be able to go through in greater detail. One of the themes of this in a forum is in a healthcare accessibility and inequality. Look at rural areas. They lack adequate healthcare infrastructure, right? You can't find specialists. You have to travel long distances. Then shortage of specialists. So in the US or actually across the globe, in India, for example, doctor to patient ratio is 1 to 1,456, whereas in a World Health Organization recommendation of you need one doctor for 1,000 people. And language barriers in medical consultations. So this is another problem. If you go to Switzerland, you go to Germany, they teach medicine in their own language. But we have this conception in India that if you learn medicine in your own language, it's impossible. Okay, that's not true. We just decided, we don't want to learn medicine in our own language. So the doctors are also not able to speak in a way that they can communicate the message in the language the patient understands. So delayed diagnosis due to limited access to diagnostic facilities. They're located in few places. So what can we do to remediate the situation? We need multilingual AI-powered telemedicine platforms. To me, I think this is the most important thing. Okay, if you speak in a language, the person understands. They say that you touch their mind. If you speak to a person in their mother tongue, you touch their heart. Okay, so I think for some reason, I think India, we underestimate or we totally ignore multilingual capabilities. I think it will change. There are several people who are proponents that we need to communicate with our people in the language they understand. So that's quite important. Multilingual AI-powered telemedicine, computer vision for medical imaging analysis in rural clinics, AI chatbots for preliminary health screening, predictive analytics, for disease outbreak problems. So we could, of course, I don't have detail about how AI solutions can solve this problem. This is where the domain expert will come into play, right? So students, once they identify a problem, you can go to your local doctor. Of course, local doctors should really provide quality time. If they think, okay, I'm going to spend 2 hours or 1 hour a week with these students, instead, and if I consult 4 patients, I get so much money. So you don't want doctors who think like that. We all have social responsibility, well-being of the society at large, beyond our immediate families. So financial inclusion and credit access. So you have more than 1 million adults in India remain unbanked. They don't have a bank account. Of course, it's rapidly changing. And also what I noticed, getting a loan, okay, limited in a credit history for informal sector workers. So they don't, since they don't have banking, they don't, their transactions are not tracked. So if you look at the credit history, like suppose I give a loan to you, what is the probability that you will successfully pay it back? Okay, that's based on credit history and few other metrics. So it's also a complex loan process for micro, small, and medium enterprises. If you're a large corporation, it's probably quite easy for you. And also lack of financial literacy. How many people actually understand the implication of high interest rates? So this could be done through gamification, financial literacy through gamification. If you go to Instagram, you have all these reels. Some of it is just killing your time. People get addicted to that. Instead, if students can create some interesting games to educate masses in their own language about financial literacy, that will be a great project. So here are solutions: alternative credit using digital footprints, whatever transactions they have done, cash transactions in their smartphones, AI powered advisory services in regional, and I should say local languages, automated loan processing, small businesses. I believe there was one in the past they were giving micro loans, and that company itself was a fraud. Okay, that takes us in a fraud and a detection for digital payments. Okay, now we move on to education and skill in a development. Okay, this is the, if you're a professor, okay, this is right in our, domain. Okay, here again, I think this should have been a bulleted in a list, something, some, syntactic error. So quality education disparities between urban and rural areas. Okay, so this is the biggest challenge we have. Especially, I can speak from what is happening in Andhra Pradesh. So many public schools, they have been there for hundreds of years. They're all getting closed. No parent want to send their children to public school because they think public schools don't teach English. If my child can learn English, my child's future is guaranteed. So it's really sad, right? You have, you know, public schools, they have been there for hundreds of years, and government has no choice. If no student is coming to their school, how can a government justify keeping teachers and paying them? So that's the biggest challenge. So one of the things we did with Akshara Plus is not to really make money. That's not the goal. But you need to make enough money to pay employees, pay for credit, pay for cloud services, customer support, all these things. No business can operate without income. But at the same time, our goal is how can we empower public education. Okay, not parents should actually take pride. Okay, my son or my daughter goes to a public school. So language barriers in accessing high quality education content. So here again with Akshara Plus, we are trying to bring in a math education, science education in mother tongue, not in English, but it also will be provided in English, but you can also learn in your mother tongue. I think until 12th grade, based on language research, people learn better if you learn math and science in your own mother tongue. Later on, you can transition to English. Lack of personalized approaches. This is what I mean by personalized and adaptive learning. It's one size fits all. Okay, we need to be able to cater to students who can want to move faster, students who need more time. So our educational approach should cater to people who are more gifted and people who are less gifted, not just in a one size fits all. So here I outline some solutions: adaptive learning platforms with the local language support, AI tutors for personalized education. Suppose I have an assignment in your engineering school, so they may not have access to the professor until the next working day, but they're working on an assignment. They need help. You can actually even have something as simple as Google Notebook LLM. So a professor could upload all the teaching and learning materials and create a chatbot, very quickly, and make it available to your students so that when they're working on assignment, they can actually consult the tutor. They don't need to wait for the professor to, come to the university the next day. Okay, so automated content translation and localization. So this is the approach we are trying to take. You create a content in English, it can be automatically translated into local languages. But is it ready for prime time? No, you still need a good editors who could edit the translated content. But this approach is much faster than creating content in every language, starting from scratch, especially for science and math. You can, the equations and explanations, they're pretty much the same. But it needs, still good editing. Okay, so recently we were looking at, digital libraries, for and languages. Okay, so maybe there are some digital libraries there, you can go to web search. They're all there, but unfortunately, it's not available. They say the description of the digital library, but you cannot access the digital library. So no comprehensive digital library for showcasing ancient and modern literary works, various languages, and the science of performing arts and languages. We have, Bharatanatyam dance, Kuchipudi dance, Carnatic music, Hindustani music, various, 22 official languages in India. So it's a which, language is just not a medium for communication. It preserves a culture. It actually brings in a community aspects, a harmonious living. So it's very important to have a digital library, but to the best of my knowledge, there are bits and pieces. They're not readily accessible. So one thing I would request people in this forum, if you happen to be in private sector, government agencies or universities, we can all come together, a consortium of universities, creating and operating the digital library. So we could seek funding from philanthropic organizations in India and outside, and also government and agencies. Without funding, no project will succeed, right? So we need a good bit of funding, not to make a profit, but to pay students and other people involved. In a university environment, it's almost impossible unless you're from IITs or some universities where there's a lot of funding. You with students, they could be good helpers. They themselves won't be able to help you build a system, cloud-based system to do something that can scale to millions of concurrent users. So agriculture and food safety, food security, this is quite important, not only for India, for people across the globe. Okay, there are so many countries where people still suffer from hunger, India included, many our neighbors in Bangladesh and Pakistan. So how can we bring advances in information technology and AI to improve crop production, right? The amount of arable land is fixed. So we need to figure out ways of increasing population, how to feed the increasing population with the same amount of land. Water resources are getting decreased. Climate change, droughts, unprecedented droughts, or deluge, too much rain. That's what some parts of India is experiencing right now. So how can we actually have AI solutions to provide to address agriculture and food security issues. So precision agriculture using satellite imagery and Internet of Things, and a crop disease detection through computer vision, many more, weather prediction and advisory systems. There are some universities in the US, which are agriculture, their state economies and agriculture based. For example, if you look at South Dakota in the US, they have an undergrad degree in precision engineering. It is it is a collaboration between mechanical engineering and agriculture department of or the Department of Agriculture or Sciences. So they address their state problems. They're unique to their state. They have created a degree program in precision agriculture. How can we minimize the use of fertilizer and also pesticides, as well as how can we minimize water consumption for providing enough food for the masses of the country, and also crop rotation and diversity. Like I go to my village, it's a small village, and the crops they grow, they were the ones that my ancestors 200 years ago, 300 years ago, they were growing. It's all sugar cane, groundnuts, some kind of lentils, uh, paddy, pretty much this. And now everybody's kind of going towards planting mango trees. So everybody converted so much of the land into mango farms, and there's no price proper price for produce mango produce. So they're saying we can't even get by selling this produce the labor that's required to harvest the fruit. Forget about watering and pesticides, all those. So with the AI, you can help people analyzing the soil. Maybe the soil results are already available. You will be able to help farmers. Okay, for this soil, for this climate conditions, for this amount of water that's available, these are the best crops that have the market. Okay, so if you live in a huge city like Mumbai, Bangalore, or Chennai, Hyderabad, you can relate to this urban infrastructure and mobility issues. Maybe Delhi is even worse. Traffic congestion, inadequate public transportation, mass public transportation, water scarcity, waste management is a big issue. So this is where if you have engineering departments, environmental science or environmental engineering, combined with computer science and other disciplines, you can come up with unique solutions to address urban infrastructure and mobility issues. Okay, what about startup ideal problems? And I'll try to wrap up in the next 15 to 20 minutes. Then we'll have time for discussion. So thank you for patiently listening. Um, so ideal problems and for startups to solve. Okay, your goal is you wanted to create a high impact. Okay, that means it should really impact lots of people, right? Real lasting impact, and also scalable. Okay, 1.4 billion people, you need to be able to scale. Your solution has to scale. There's no other way. So we talked about digital health records management. We didn't really directly address digital health records management. So previously, what used to happen is when you go to a doctor, at least in a Bangalore, that you go there, they will write something on a sheet of paper, give it to you. When you go next time, you need to bring that sheet of paper to the doctor. If suppose you lost that sheet of paper, they don't have any record of your previous health and history. Maybe it's changing now. Some clinics, they are able to create their own digital health records. But the thing is, and if you go to a different doctor, a specialist, they should be able to access your health records, even though it's even though it's with a different healthcare provider. So there are several issues like that. But with the AI, these problems are solvable. Vernacular voice commerce. This means vernacular means is a native language and a voice commerce. So if you call some provider, a bank, for example, you want what you call online banking and a voice and a supported online banking, you need to be able to select a language of your choice. At least, you should be able to say, okay, my preferred language is this. So I gave this example many times. Like a flight safety announcements. Okay, very quickly. One time I traveled, from Hyderabad to Vijayawada. I can say that 99% of the passengers in that airplane, they're all Telugu speaking people. Okay, so you look at the flight announcements, safety announcements, they say it in English, they say it in Hindi. Okay, they don't say it in Telugu. Okay, so then I, waited until the flight landed in Vijayawada. I let everybody else, deplane, and I was the last one to leave the aircraft. I asked the flight attendants. Okay, so here, if you look at all the passengers, 99% are Telugu speaking. Some of them may know Hindi, some of them may know English, but I can bet there are many of them, they don't know these languages. So what is the purpose of flight safety announcements? In case some unexpected thing happens, how to save lives? So if you make an announcement in a language that people don't understand, the very purpose is defeated. So why don't you make an announcement? Even if you don't speak Telugu, you can have a recorded message. You press a button, it'll say the message in a local language. They say, it's a directive from the, central government and a federal aviation or, a central, aviation department. You have to do announcements only in two languages, Hindi and English, not local languages. So if you want to change this, you need to contact, the central government and aviation ministry. They can change the policy. Okay, so it was, strange to me. We're talking about, emerging India, Gen AI with so many colleges and universities, teaching computer science. Even now, if you think, the only way to bring unity in the country is to make everybody speak in a Hindi, really we are not progressive thinking. Enabling commerce in 22 official languages, voice-based interfaces for low literacy populations. So they may not be able to type, but they should be able to speak, right? Many more people speak the language than the number of people who write in the language. So integration with existing e-commerce and ecosystems so that you could also do e-commerce with the other existing retailers. So microcredit and insurance, we briefly talked about this. I'm getting a loan, not 1 crore. I want to get a loan in 50,000 rupees. That's in a microcredit. Okay, smart governance and citizen services. I just give one example of smart governance and citizen services. Okay, you go to places like, and I can only give example of where I have first-hand experience. You go to a city like Bengaluru, and I know somebody was trying to buy a property, and they were so much concerned about the same property might have been sold to 20, 30 different people. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but maybe 3, 4 people. The same property sold to 3, 4 people. So my question is, why doesn't the registrar's office keep track of who is the current owner of this property? So it's still a mess. We talk about 1.4 billion people, lots of young people. Still, the state governments do not have a solution where they could guarantee if you want to buy a property, there's one single source of truth. Okay, this property is owned by so and so person. Only that person or persons can sell this property. And it's a kind of, I feel it's a shame that so much, run around, so many people got cheated, and this still goes on. Can a government like a Karnataka government, they collect so much money through registration, can they not invest money to create a system that can guarantee single source of truth? I am not saying there are challenges, but they're not insurmountable challenges. They can be they can be overcome easily with the technology that we have. Okay, so when you think about selection criteria for startup companies, you need to think about where is my market. At the end of the day, you don't need to make lots of profit, but you need to make some profit so that you could pay for people, that company can exist and operate. So technical feasibility, you may have great ideas, but if you don't have the technical feasibility, if you don't have the technology to scale to address that problem, that you need to carefully think about technical feasibility of a problem, and more important is social impact. Okay, so if I'm going to create this solution, how does it impact the society in a positive way, in a negative way, right? Everything has two sides, positive things and negative things. As long as negative things are smaller, minimal compared to positive things, you need to select such problems that can be solved by startup companies. Okay, so why not think about US market? Why not we think about Indian market, right? Indian AI market. So you have large addressable market, right? We keep saying this 1.4 billion people, 1.17 billion mobile subscribers. So it's almost like so many people, almost in another 2 3 years, everybody will have a mobile phone. Maybe the only people who do not have mobile phone are those who are maybe really aged. They don't want to learn how to use a mobile phone, or they just don't need a phone, right? For example, my mother, I got her a smartphone thinking that it's easy for me to reach her from the US, but she didn't use. So then somebody else took that phone because she's not using. Why waste that in a phone? So you have government support. I think your government very well. Digital India initiative promoting technology adoption, AI strategy with focus on social good, regulatory sandboxes for financial technologies and health technology companies. Okay, that's government is very positive. I think they wanted entrepreneurs to create this kind of startups to solve problems and also to create employment. Okay, talent pool, large English speaking technical workforce, growing AI, machine learning expertise, and also is a low cost development environment. For example, in the US, if you want to hire a software engineer, for the same money, you can probably hire, two or three or four, depends on how many years of experience you have. So there's cost development environment. So it's relatively easy to get things done there than in other countries like United States. Okay, so unique value propositions. Um, you need to build cost-effective solutions, and also you need to be aware of price-sensitive markets. If you build a service, provide a service, and say if you're going to price where only 1% of the population can afford that price, it's not going to succeed. So you really need to be aware of price sensitivity and also people's incomes when you think about a solution. So it has to be cost-effective solution for price-sensitive markets. And also offline first approaches. What I mean by offline first approach is, okay, suppose I'm transacting with my phone, I have internet connectivity or the data connectivity, and it may go away because of thunderstorms and other things. When you resume the power after that, you should be able to continue your transaction, continue your work where you left off. So that should be guaranteed. Offline first approach. Offline first means your system should be able to operate in a reliable manner when power, internet connectivity goes away or power goes away. When it is resumed, it should continue from that point forward. Cultural adaptation. This is a very, very important. You need to be culturally sensitive to, wherever your product is, you need to respect local customs, local culture, local language, so that, your product adaptation can be greater. So local language capabilities, also context aware, solutions. Then leapfrog opportunities, direct adoption of AI without legacy system constraints. Because in the US, even if you look at, for example, telephone services, India mobile services big adoption became so quick, so widespread, simply because India did not have the landline infrastructure. It had only for big cities and certain size tier two size cities. Whereas the US, they had this legacy. They had these telephone systems, from 1930. So it took much longer for US population to switch to mobile phones compared to the adoption, the speed at which this mobile phone adoption took place in India. So there's also, world famous India stack, UPI payments, all Aadhaar card. So you need to be able to integrate with the India stack using that, integrate with other systems like Aadhaar and UPI using this India stack. So this, something that all Indians can be proud of compared to many other countries is all the financial transactions. They're, going through India stack. Any bank, can interface with any other bank. But in the US, you have PayPal and, some other restrictions. It's monopolized, whereas in India, that's, one great thing that India stack enabled is, these UPI transactions. Okay, so there are risks and challenges for many AI applications. You need to have high quality data, right? Data quality, and the data should be readily available. You need to be respectful of privacy concerns, anonymizing data. So data is it's there. It's not in a machine readable format, and also the data quality is low. You need to figure out ways to improve data quality before that data can be used to train or to build your Gen AI systems. Infrastructure limitations, you inconsistent internet connectivity in major cities is not a problem. Power supply issues in rural areas, and device compatibility constraints. You have multiple devices, they may not be compatible with each other. Performance is another issue, and market risks, regulatory uncertainty. Okay, you right now you have BJP government. Let's say after next elections, you have a different government. How will the government policy change my business? Okay, so that's a big thing for all the business people, entrepreneurs. Uh, the change of a government should not dramatically change government policies towards startup companies and other businesses. Okay, competition, large tech giants entering Indian market, especially from the US and other countries. They're well funded with deeper pockets compared to Indian startups. So you need to be aware of this risk with the competition, because that's what I was saying with people that work for Akshara Plus. I have been working with this for so long, and I don't want them to divulge whatever ideas we have, because some big uh, big investor, they have billions of rupees. They can hire thousands of people and reproduce this, whereas I'm trying to get it done with very few people. So you need to be aware of that as well. And adoption challenges, digital literacy barriers, and also trust. Okay, do I trust in AI? Okay, AI powered services. So you may say, okay, 99% of the time it gives you a correct answer. 1% of the time it doesn't give you the correct answer. Okay, let's say you're talking about medical diagnostics or disease, treatment. If 99% of the time it gives you the right advice, the right prescription, if 1%, I don't want to be in that 1%, right? That's a human psychology. So resistance to change in traditional sectors, because they are not used to this, how we have been doing it for the last 100 years. Why should we change now? Okay, so business model risks, monetization difficulties, and how do you turn your service to revenue generation? Um, okay, you need to be thinking about that as well. The scaling challenges. You have regional customization requirements, and you go state across one state to another state. The state may have different regulatory compliance that you need to comply with. It's also difficult, talent acquisition and retention. Even though we produce so many engineers, only very few of them are able to join the workforce right away and be able to produce something that's usable. Okay, partnership, dependencies. If you have a government as a partner, again, politics. Like I can tell you this, in Andhra Pradesh, last year or year before, when the government change, all the contracts that the previous government issued or the government before that, they get cancelled or they don't pay them. So those issues, you need to be, especially with the government partnerships, you need to be aware of what happens when the government changes. Okay, so here are risk mitigation strategies. I'm going to skip this. Um, okay, so whenever you have risk, right? One approach is you can not do that. Okay, then that means you have no risk at all because you decided not to pursue that. But knowing the risk, you're able to quantify the risk and coming up with a strategy. How can I minimize the damage arising from this risk perspective? So you could always come up with some strategies. They may not necessarily be 100% satisfying. For example, you have data strategy. You don't have all the data that you need. Partner with a government and non-governmental organizations for data access. They may agree to give you the data under certain conditions. So you can work with them to see what those conditions are. Are those conditions suitable for you? For example, there are some agencies, okay, I'm going to give you the data, but you should not charge customers, for using this data. So you're going to actually integrate the data with your system, but you may not be able to operate that system without charging customers, right? You could operate for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, but if you want that to be a long, useful societal impact in a business, you need to worry about those aspects, right? I want to use your data, but I need to charge money because of these reasons. They may be able to work with you and see why you need to charge customers some money for using that service. Okay, so you have offline capabilities. We said, build offline first in a capability. The solutions should work with the limited connectivity or connectivity on and off quite frequently. Continuous learning. You need to learn how to improve your product as the new technologies emerge. Okay, so your innovation need to happen in a risk mitigation from the perspective in a technical risk, market risk, also one more called in a business model innovation. So tiered pricing means offer multiple pricing tiers, including this is a typo here. I don't know how it okay, so maybe nowadays maybe it's an accepted word as well. So you have some customers, right? Like you go to some expensive public schools in big cities, actually not public school, private schools in big cities. So those parents are well-to-do. They may not be as sensitive as a public school, parent. So you need to be able to have tiered pricing. Other way to look at it is if you have a good educational product, if you want to work with the state of Maharashtra, you may be able to work with the state to have a pricing that is one price that can allow the product to be available to all public school students. So then you may have another scenario that pricing may be suitable for all private schools. And sometimes you need to do partnership in an ecosystem. Maybe there's a well-established player and you could market the product through their customers. Okay, so build strategic partnerships for market access and social impact. No matter what you do, align with social causes for government and NGO support, because social impact is important. We all want to create companies that thrive, that excel, that make money. But money making should not be the only goal. You need to make enough money to advance, but you also need to think about what value are we delivering for the services and through the services we provide. Okay, so I will say not everything is gloomy. there are really some success stories in India, existing successful AI companies. I didn't really provide links, but if you can go to you Google engine, you can type, for example, any one of these. For example, earlier I visited in a crop in. It's actually an international. They're going beyond India. This is an agriculture tech. They provide agriculture tech platform using an AI for crop monitoring, not only in India, beyond India. So there's a locus in here, haptic, okay, Vadvani AI. This is for healthcare and agriculture. So it doesn't mean that there's no space for new players. There's always place for new players. You need to understand the market. You need to understand the domain need and try to provide a solution for a problem that's crying for a solution, as opposed to building a solution and then looking for who can use my solution. Okay, we really don't want to take that route. You find a need, right? You spend time to understand the need, where there's a real societal need, and also understand what features that product should have. One other thing that you want to keep in mind is try to provide minimal set of features. Okay, put the product into the market, you offer free trials, and let the customers tell you, okay, these features are good, but it will also be good for us to have features in a 1, 2, 3. Then you can gradually incorporate in those features, because when you design a product, you think about it, you talk to maybe some customers, whatever you come up with, the features may not capture the entire need. So try to start something small. Let your users tell you what features the system should have. Okay, let's key success factors. Let me skip that. Let's focus on key takeaways. Okay, so when you solve a problem through a startup, or through a capstone project. You're not going to create a real product through a capstone project, but at least you do the groundwork. So once the students graduate, maybe with the professor in the loop, they can create a startup. And the most important thing is, if you have identified high impact in a problem, right, that should touch the lives of many people, thousands and hundreds and thousands of people, if not billions of people, right? So addressing solutions in healthcare that's unique to Indian, Indian situation. Again, India is such a vast, diverse in a country, different cultures, different languages. So whatever is appropriate in Maharashtra, for example, in healthcare, that may not work exactly the same way in Tamil Nadu, for example. So, even if you create a product that's unique to address the needs of people in Maharashtra, you don't need to have your product be used by everyone in India. So try to keep, the important thing is a high impact in a problem, as opposed to, how big the market is. Okay, build enough for India's reality. Okay, so offline capable, you may not have internet data connectivity all the time. Multilingual, okay, the product should speak multiple languages, or even if you build for one language, that's fine. Later on, if you want to expand the offering to another market segment, you can bring in additional language capability. Mobile first. So many people in India, they do their business using their mobile phone. I sometimes wonder, I have not, for me, it's very hard to do everything on mobile phone, but I've seen very smart people in India, they could really get complex tasks just using their mobile phone. I have seen students doing their assignments using mobile phones. But for me, I can't think of that, but it doesn't mean that other people are not capable of doing it. Okay, leverage India's advantage. We have large talent pool. Maybe they need a bit of orientation and training to make them contribute in a positive or in a productive way. Government initiatives like Digital India, and also knowing how to use India stack for rapid scaling. We also need to navigate the risks strategically. No matter what you do, there'll always be risk, but knowing the risk ahead of time, if that risk happens, it materializes. What are my responses. You have thought through, and you have not caught off guard. Okay, you never thought this risk is going to happen. When it materializes, you're kind of puzzled. Okay, you have prepared for it ahead of time. Measure success in a beyond in a revenue. To me, this is the most important one, or one of the important aspects. Success is not always how much money you have earned or how rich you are, and you need to measure the success of a startup company beyond in a revenue. What kind of social impact did it create? How many people's lives did I touch? Did this software product or startup company touch? And also, is it sustainable? Right? You don't want to use enormous amounts of electricity, especially with the large language models, small language models. Anytime you use these models, the amount of energy you use is very hard to justify. So don't always think, and I need to go with LLMs. They are the right solutions for certain things. They're not the right solutions for some other things. Okay, so conclusion, 3 bullet points. We need to combine deep local market understanding. Okay, so then within a cutting edge AI, a lot more people will know cutting edge AI techniques, but very few people will know deep local market, market needs. So this is where some of the engineering schools may not have access to business schools. But if you're a comprehensive university, you may also have MBA or bachelor's degree in business administration. It's important enough for us to work with them, because you may have the greatest product on earth. If you don't know the digital marketing and other marketing techniques, that product is going to be sitting somewhere in the digital space or on the shelves in the manufacturing area. So you really need to involve in a business and people with marketing, sales, and skills early on. Otherwise your AI knowledge alone is not enough. Then create solutions that are not just technically superior, but more importantly, they're culturally resonant. Okay, you understand that those products can blend with the local cultures. The culturally resonant means you can reach, you can touch the hearts of those people, and also socially impactful. Right? We're not trying to build a product. What are the different types of drugs you can take, and how high you can get, where are they available? We're not talking about those things, right? Societally impactful are those that are good for the society. You're setting right role models by using those products. So we need to solve problems for 1.4 billion people. At the same time, you need to build a profitable business. Otherwise, you can use your money for 1 month, 6 months, 1 year. After that, if you don't make any money, that business is not going to sustain. So with that, I'll conclude, and I will just go ahead and say a couple of things to I keep this in my office all the time. Whatever you do, if you're not inspired, please don't do it, because you're not going to enjoy it, and also the quality of that work is not going to be great. That's what I will tell my colleagues in universities also. If you want to work in industry, go work in industry, but don't stay in the university, complain. Professors are paid so less money compared to industries. Nobody stops you from going to industry and getting a job in industry. So wherever you are, there you are, give your best. Okay, so Gen AI, any technology, it has good things and bad things. It's equally important for us to know the negative aspects, the bad aspects of any technology, so that we could mitigate the negative aspects of that technology. So with that, I think we still have, I don't know how much time we have. We have at least 15 minutes, or 10 to 15 minutes for questions and answers. So please feel free to ask me any questions. And I would say one last thing before we open it for questions. You may not agree with whatever I have said. That's perfectly fine. I always made it a point. The more people I meet that disagree with my views, I actually become a smarter person because I kind of try to learn from their perspective. Why is this person disagreeing with me? What are the reasons? I wanted to know. So that way I become more balanced. I bring in a multiple perspectives into my thinking as opposed to whatever I say is everybody should agree, to that. And that's the only thing. No, you learn a lot more, by meeting people that disagree with you. So with that, I'm going to open the floor and take in questions.
Thank you, Dr. Gudivada, for your
My pleasure,
wonderful
Dr.
and
Rajokar.
insightful session. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you
Nice
so
to
much.
hear from you always. Thank you
you.
for sparing time for us.
No, it's always right. I think of this as my social responsibility, right? Thank you for giving me this forum. Even if 10% of the people wanted to, think about, India is a diverse in a country with different cultures, multi-language capabilities. You're doing a service. So that's how I look at it, right? This is my, social responsibility and also good karma.
Yeah. Your sessions are always full of, love for country, love for Indian languages, love for local languages, and very inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, participants, please ask the questions, if any.
So if some of you do not want to ask in a forum like this, you're welcome to talk to me in private as well after this event. We can always, have a meeting. So I know somebody is going to ask a question.
Dear participant, the floor is open for you. For your questions and reflection, please feel free to unmute yourself and share them in chat also. Yeah, good evening, Madam. Latkar Madam.
Good evening. I'm traveling actually.
Welcome.
Just to say hi to Gudivada sir. Thank you so much, Gudivada sir.
Thank you. It's always, you're all my family, right? So that's how I feel about MGM College of Engineering.
Thank you so much. We are privileged, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Latkar.
Please, any question from audience?
So it's really wonderful. 135 people. Okay, so I'm so privileged, to be able to speak to you.
Yeah, we got good response this time.
Yes, madam. Yes.
Yeah. Ma'am, actually, I don't have a question. Yeah, I don't have a question. However, I want to share my views with sir. I really like
Please.
the approach. Sir, I really like the approach that you brought today. I mean, along with the technological aspect and the advancements that we are going through, you also added that basically we all have our own primary responsibility as a citizen, no matter where we live or on what corner of the world or earth. However, it is important that we realize at the cost of what we are going and giving. So that's my takeaway from your lecture and from your session. It was not a lecture, however, it was a sharing of information. And I really liked that, or the approach, the way, the style of delivery, and most importantly, to ask oneself at the cost of what we are going and how to, when you talked about the diversified aspect of human learning and how it can be related to some of the native aspects that we are born and brought up into. And because the world is moving in some direction, we are trying to merely copy paste certain aspects without realizing is it really important or are we applicable for it or not. And
Right.
then yeah, that makes sense. And those kind of, as a teacher, those kind of questions do come upfront every time. That as a teacher, I'm teaching the students, I'm telling them do this, do that, be successful. However, what are the measurements we're carrying, right, in order to measure those? And are we just enrolling ourselves into the rat race nowadays? So those questions come up, and when profound speakers like you, when you talk about these things as well with the same kind of importance, along with the technical aspects of any of the domain, that gives us this courage to think that yeah, we are also on the right path when we are thinking of these questions and introspecting when we guide the students and tell
Right.
them, yeah, be deep rooted and focus on learning and unlearning. I just wanted to have your support and guidance further in the kind of project that you enrolled and you got funds and support from the government that you live. So that's really wonderful to know about learning and why the purpose of learning. I loved the project and the idea and the simplicity of the project you're working on. Would really like to associate and
Thank you.
do
Yeah,
something on the
certainly.
same grounds. Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah, it's okay. So thank you for insightful and inspiring comments. So when we have this, initial product released, I'll, get in touch with you all, and we can make it available, free, to get feedback, from various, people. So that's my goal is to, how can we touch, these millions of, students in different states, and you speak to them in their language, not in English. But if they wanted to, they can also, learn English. But how can we actually teach math and science in their own mother tongue?
Yeah. Yeah, that's great
Right.
to know. Now, under national education policy, people are government has also brought in certain courses which are related to the native language. However,
Right.
with the diversified crowd and students entering the institute, it really becomes a challenge now. Like we are from Maharashtra, Pune, and
Right.
we have got Marathi introduced in our engineering course, and now we have students from all over the country, and then it becomes difficult, when we think of it, how it is it going to turn around, and how people from say who have not even studied anything,
Right.
about that
Right.
language, how they'll cope up within 3 months of time. So
No,
that
that's
there are certain constraints, because to learn a language we first need to unlearn what we already know, and then we
right.
need to
Right.
relearn. Yeah.
Right.
So that was my
So,
question: how we can cope up through these tools and through Gen AI. So
right.
yeah.
Yeah. So we can have, real-time translation, but that may not be as effective. Like, a professor is, teaching in Marathi, and there's a real-time translation of that in, other languages, like, whatever their mother tongue is. If you go to European Parliament, like in the European Union, is like India in many ways, because each country, like Italy, Germany, France, they have their own national language. So when a speaker is, speaking in one language, okay, they want to take pride in speaking in their own mother tongue, right? Italian, for example, it gets translated in real time to, all other languages for the member nations. Other possibilities, when I remember, when I did my 11th and 12th grade, we had, like, mathematics, physics, chemistry for people who want to study engineering. So we had a section of students, where you teach, math, physics, and chemistry in English. Then another section where math, physics, chemistry was taught in Telugu. So depending on your interest, you can actually choose, one of, these, two sections. Even though, many people wanted to choose in English because they thought, okay, English is the gateway to live in India. But some, they had a very hard time convincing people to, be in the Telugu section because they thought maybe the people in English section have an advantage over us. But I think we, as I said, that's a mindset we need to overcome, and we can learn so much, from the European Union. You go to any country in Europe, they speak, multiple languages, at least two languages. One is their mother tongue, right? They learn everything in their mother tongue. The second is in English. So when they go to other countries, they can perfectly speak English. It doesn't mean that, they can't speak their mother tongue. What's happening in India is they're not able to speak their mother tongue. They may be able to speak English to some degree, but that defeats the whole purpose, right? So we can learn from European Union that it's possible. You learn things in your mother tongue. You can also learn English. So there's also a saying, they say that it's what do you call a person who speaks three languages? They call it, you're a trilingual. What do you call a person who speaks in two languages? You're a bilingual. So what do you call a person who speaks in only one language? You call it an American, right? Only in America, you speak only one language, right? So that's sad. You can also call them monolingual, but the joke is that's really true. In America, they don't want to learn more than one language. It's only English. But I think that will change, like the political power, the economic power, it's not going to stay with one country. It keeps shifting. There'll be a time where they will realize, we also need to learn other languages.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. It's wonderful, reflective, insightful comments. Thank you.
Yeah, any other question? Yes.
So if not, and certainly through Dr. Rajurkar, she has my contact information. So please feel free to reach out to me. Sometimes you may feel more, you want to talk one-on-one. I'm available to work on any project, especially if you see some funding opportunities for creating a digital library or any project. I'll be happy to work with you on the proposal. It's not that I need any money through that project, but I think I'm quite interested in making such things happen by working with you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gudivada.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you,
my
sir.
pleasure. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, sir, for your
Yeah.
insightful session. Yeah, you gave us a clear picture of how India's unique landscape creates opportunity for AI-driven innovations from healthcare, financial inclusion, education to agriculture, urban mobility, and startups. You also reminded us that success comes not only from spotting opportunities, but also from understanding risk, challenges, and how to mitigate them. As the saying goes, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Today, your talk has inspired us to think big, act wisely, and use AI for social good. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your informative session.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you all. It's always a great
Yeah.
pleasure, to work with MGM and all the people associated with MGM. So I feel it's my home. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
Thank
much.
you so
Yeah,
much,
my
Venkat.
pleasure. Thank you once again. Yeah.
Director, madam, we want to speak something?
Thank you, sir.
So I'm traveling, so I could not attend full lecture. I would have loved to. something is available, backup is available.
Yeah, yeah,
I
we
would
have
like to-
recorded. We will send you the
So,
link, madam. We have
I
done
will
the
come back.
recording.
Please do send me the link.
Yes.
So I will listen to. I missed major part of it.
Okay, okay.
To be associated with you, Professor, is really makes us privileged, and we really enjoy your lectures.
Yeah,
Every time,
thank you,
every
Dr.
time.
Latkar.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Gudivada. See you then.
Okay.
If
Yeah,
any
thank you
queries
all. You
are
have a
there,
Thank you,
great
sir.
evening.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
If
thank you
queries are
so
there
much.
from participants, I will pass it to them to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you
Okay.
soon
Thank you
sometime.
so much for your valuable time.
Yeah, anytime.
Okay. We'll keep in
Okay,
touch
good
then.
night. Yeah.
Okay. Good night. Good night, all
Yeah,
the
good night.
participants.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
Bye.
Good morning for you.
Yeah.